Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to World at War Comics. My next special guest is Mr. Mark Bertolini. Did I pronounce that right?
Bertolini.
Bertolini.
Yeah,
Bertolini. Man, I already screwed that up, Mark.
that's all right.
It's a
I've heard
pleasure
worse.
meeting you. Yeah, you've heard worse. Yeah. Well, we're both married. I would assume that we both heard worse.
Yeah.
But Mr. Mark Bertolini, Mark, thank you for joining me on a weekend. I appreciate it. I've been traveling for work, so I've been a little slow on the interviews the last couple of weeks, but it's a pleasure having you. Hopefully, you're having a great start to your weekend.
Yeah, it's been a good morning so far. Kids are all still sleeping, so it's a perfect time to
Nice.
do this. Yeah.
Sweet, man. Well, congratulations, man. I mean, you've been very busy over the last I would say 12 to 15 years on a writing standpoint. So people that aren't aware of your writing, you have done some amazing independent titles outside of the one that we're talking about today, which is Breakneck, which sounds actually hilarious and amazing. But before we jump into Breakneck, I would love to kind of understand where this passion for storytelling started in your life.
I mean, I've been reading comics as far as I can remember. You know what I mean? I tell people I learned how to read from reading comics, which is probably pretty close to the truth. And it was always something that I wanted to do. So I actually wanted to be a comic book artist when I was younger. All through high school, that was my goal. I was going to be an artist. I was going to be, I was going to be the next Jim Lee. But I didn't really have the technical skill or the patience. You know what I mean? I couldn't sit and work on one page for 8 hours. You know what I mean? Like I just didn't have that in me. But all along, I had been creating. I used to, I create my own characters, create my own stories to draw, which I really enjoyed doing. So over time, I slowly shifted away from drawing and focused more on the writing. And I've had some, I don't know if you can really call it success, but I've done a lot of work, and I have a lot of stuff out in the world, which is really cool. And I've worked with a lot of really great artists, guys who did have that dedication to being able to do it.
That's incredible. Let's just correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just going to name off some titles so people could understand kind of the breadth of work. And I might be leaving out a few, so feel free, Mark, to jump in if you're like, oh, there's also this title, but
Sure.
Long Gone, I think
Yeah.
is one. Knowledge, Grindhouse, Scum of the Earth, Bastard's Waltz, which I've heard of before, by Darby Pop. You have The Hand of Glory, Feeder, through Sumerian, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes.
The Argus, Bigfoot, Frankenstein. You've done quite a few with Action Labs. I think you've had two or three titles with them, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I did a few different things with Action Lab. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then obviously Terminal and Breakneck, which I believe Breakneck isn't that your first kind of, I guess you would call it published, professional published title?
It was. Yeah. Yeah. It was the first thing that ever got released. So Long Gone was the first deal I ever signed. But Breakneck was actually the first thing that ever came out in stores. Like that was it beat Long Gone out. So yeah, Breakneck was originally published by a Philadelphia-based publisher called 215 Inc., who are actually now called Invader Comics. They're still around and kicking and doing some cool stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first three issues of Breakneck actually came out in stores through Diamond, in Previews magazine, the whole bit. Right, that was really cool. Right when I first started out, being able to go to a store and my comic was on the shelf. Right, that was cool.
That's the dream, right? That's the
It
dream.
is. It is. And it's still, what, that feeling never has never gone away. Like anytime I have something new and I see it in previews, I'm so pumped to see it. I can't wait to get to the store to see it on the shelf. So, but yeah, so the first three issues of Breakneck came out monthly, and then we released a trade that had the fourth issue in it. And that was it for a very long time. But we had finished creating the fifth issue, uh, but I never had it. It never got lettered, so I just had the artwork for a long time. And so my partners on Breakneck, James Bolton was the artist, and Matt Brown was the letterer for the first four issues. So they both ultimately stepped away from doing comics. They're doing other things with their time, and all the power to them. But for a long time, I would sit and look at the artwork for this fifth issue that we never did anything with, and I thought, at least for my own self, I wanted to get it done. So I reached out to my buddy Micah Myers, who I don't know, he's letters for everybody under the sun.
Yeah.
Um, So he lettered the fifth issue for me and kind of gave me a hand sort of putting the whole package together. And I actually went back to the guys at Invader Comics and I said, like, what do you think the odds are that we can, you know, re-release this, do something new with it? And they've kind of moved away from doing superhero stuff, which I get. You know, it's a hard slog when it's not Marvel or DC, right?
Yeah, it's tough right now for superheroes. Yes.
So I totally got it. And they were like,
Yeah.
if you want to do something with it yourself, you know, by all means, go for it. So that was when I started talking to the guys at Zoop about putting out a hardcover with all five issues. Plus, there's a couple of short stories I have that are sort of peripheral to the whole Breakneck universe. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of cool stuff in there. So you know, that's where we're at 10 days in on this campaign, and you know, just really pushing and hoping to get it made.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's 128 pages, if I'm not mistaken, correct? It's a pretty, I mean, you're getting a pretty big bang for your buck when it comes to this title, right? You're getting five issues, one that has not been seen yet, and like you said, a couple other short stories in there. You're getting a lot of reading for I think what, $40 is your entry level on a hardcover. I think that's pretty good.
I think so too. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of the Zoop the hardcovers they've done, anything.
Yeah.
Such beautiful production, you know what I mean? Like that was really what pushed me to want to work with them. And working with Zoop's been a dream. The guys are great. Like they you know, they really focus on taking care of the back end pieces of doing a campaign so I can focus on promoting it and pushing it and talking to, you know, to guys like yourself and trying to get the word out there. I don't have to worry about the business side of it really, you know, which is I'm not good at that anyway, so it worked perfectly for me.
Yeah, I mean their business model I think is absolutely incredible. Comic focus. They do the marketing, they do the background stuff like the fulfillment, which man, that takes a lot of hard work, man. If you get anything over like 50 or 60, like I don't know how people do this in their house on their own. It's a lot of labor. So it's a great business model. I'm glad you're with them, and I think they're doing really well also.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've supported, I don't know, a bunch of different Zoop campaigns, and you know, the stuff's always top notch quality. But yeah, like I love the idea of a crowdfunding platform just for comics, because yeah, like Kickstarter's there, but
Yeah.
I mean, you can do anything on Kickstarter. I feel like sometimes maybe the comics get lost there, right? So that's why I'm just, you know, really happy with Zoop, and doing this is kind of an experiment, I guess. You know what I mean? To see if we can do this, if it, you know, if it works out, and because I got other stuff that's, you know, I would love to run through Zoop. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens with this campaign.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna pull it up. Let's take a quick look at it,
Sure.
real quick, Mark, and maybe you could kind of walk us through it if that's okay. Hopefully, you could see it okay.
Yep. Yep. I see it here.
Yeah, very good. So you're almost halfway there. We were kind of talking before we jumped into this, man. The middle of any campaign, I don't care what platform you're on, is the valley of death. It's the
Yeah.
most stressful time, I think, as a comic book creator to have to go through. But man, I mean, everything looks beautiful. Once you kind of walk us through what you could get as a consumer of this product.
Yeah. So I mean, when you look at the rewards here, depends what you're into, right? I know a lot of people love digital, you know, and so the PDF is there, 128 pages in a PDF for $20. I mean, you can't really beat that, I don't think. But if you're a fan of a physical copy, the way I am, the hardcover starts at $40. You know, has all five issues plus like a couple of you know, the short stories that I mentioned. So and Zoop's hardcovers are beautiful. So I can't wait to see this thing. And if you're so inclined, you want me to sign it, there's an option
Yeah.
for that too. You know, you can tell me if you want it to put to eBay seller. I mean, it's up to you. Um, and then for the retailers, yeah, you can get there's a discounted retailer bundle where you can, you know, retailers can have the option to sell it in their stores, and which you know, there's one claimed. I think I know who it is, so I'm hoping I can get some more. You know, that would be great to get the book into more stores for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, that's always the hardest thing I think as an indie creator to get done. So yeah, I mean, it's awesome that you got someone claim. I'm sure you'll have a few more too before this is all over. And then look at some of your past stuff is on here too as add-ons if you're so inclined. I mean, Bastards Waltz. I am a little familiar with that title, and that's another title that's a lot of fun, man. So
Yeah, I mean, if you're into this kind of more mature superhero stuff, Bastards Waltz
yeah,
would be right up your alley as well.
yeah,
We did that with Darby Pop, and yeah,
yeah.
that was a lot of fun. That's actually yeah, there's the option for some signed copies of that, or you can get Bigfoot Frankenstein, which is just as advertised. It's a Bigfoot monster, yeah, a Frankenstein's monster made out of Bigfoot pieces. That was a lot of fun. We did that with Action Lab.
That's cool.
Uh, and then the last this is all stuff out of my own personal stash. So yeah, Cauldron Magazine was a thing we did here with a bunch of local Toronto creators. I have a short story in there. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like heavy metal-ish.
Yeah,
So
that's cool, man. That's cool. And even if you would like to have a personal Zoom call with you, man, there's that option as well, which is cool. I mean, you've been since 2000, what, 10, been a
yeah,
professional comic book writer. So you have a lot of experience. Definitely any indie creators out there that would like to bounce ideas and try and get a better understanding of how you've been so successful in the indie market. This is a perfect opportunity for people to get on a Zoom call with you, right?
yeah, and I'm not going to claim to have tons of knowledge, but like you said, I've been doing it for a long time. I'll I'll share any information that I have, anything that I do that I've and I have had some success. So yeah, I'd love to share that. It's the kind of thing that I wish I'd had the option to do when I first started out, right? To talk to somebody who'd been sort of doing the work already.
Exactly. No, I think that's awesome, man. What a great opportunity. And then this kind of goes into kind of the story and the history of Breakneck, which if you don't know, I mean, it's the premise itself is pretty hilarious, right? You got this terrible villain who who survives as the superheroes kill all these villains only because he's just an unknown. He's not very good at what he does, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like to just say it's the story of the crappiest supervillain on Earth. Alone against a world full of heroes. Uh, and yeah, so Ethan Shade, he's like a D-list villain at best. If you think about like the Condiment King from DC, you know what I mean? Like he's that level. He's bad at what he does. He's a little bit lazy. He's you know wants to be a bigger deal but doesn't want to put the work in. And he's kind of I always figured he was like, if I ever got superpowers, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
would I instantly become a good guy, and would I know how to use my powers? He doesn't even really know what he's doing with his own powers. So yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of funny stuff in there, you know, coming from the guy that wrote it, obviously. But yeah,
Yeah. No, it sounds awesome. I can't wait to get my copy, man. This looks awesome. Here's some of the interior work from James, right? And
yeah,
James, like you said, was on all five issues, so there is going to be that same kind of look and feel as you're going through these five issues. Which, from a fan's perspective, right, you can always tell when someone has to, and that happens, right? You got to switch artists once in a while because it's hard to keep an artist, to be honest. But you, at least these first five issues, man, all the same artist, the same look and feel, which is awesome, and the art looks great.
James has a real unique aesthetic. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like anything else you'd see on comic shelves. I loved his work. And I was really happy we got to do these five issues together. And you can see there as well the new cover for the hardcover was done by Valentin Ramon,
It's so awesome.
who, yeah, he did the Dave series. He did Hot Damn. He's a buddy of mine, and yeah, he knocked this out. It's perfect. It's exactly what we needed in terms of a new cover to draw some eyes.
I love the
Yeah,
cell phones had the close up of the face, which is that's just hard to do. I think as an artist, I don't know. It's always
yeah,
impressive.
yeah. Val's awesome. You know what I mean? I look at that and I think there's not a chance I could have done that in a million years. So
So cool though, man. So cool. And here we go. Some of the other pages. I assume these are like the first few pages of the comic, right?
yeah, yeah. It may not be. Yeah, maybe it is a sequential batch here. I'm not sure, but yeah, you can just see like the risks and like the experimental style that James had, right? Like that was what I loved the most. Like this could have been a very typical comic book. You know what I mean? Like a superhero comic book, but with James drawing it, like it kind of took it to a new level. And that was
Yeah.
what I loved the most about it was just how it looked and how we put it together. I mean, this is all James. Like this was really like, this was early in my comic writing career where I kind of just wrote the script and handed it to him and said, "Here you go."
Yeah.
Whereas now, when I work with an artist, I try to sort of tailor stuff to their strengths, and you know what I mean. I go back and forth, but this was early on, and but he just took what I had and he ran with it. So
Yeah.
still 10, 12 years later, it's still one of my most favorite things I've ever written.
Yeah. No, it looks so cool, man. The art looks awesome. Very, like you said, unique style, which I think, I don't know all artists, but I think all artists, right? They go in and they want a style that you could look at and say, "Oh, that's James," right? I know that kind of work because it's so unique, and he certainly has an awesome, unique style. So yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful interiors. Obviously, the new cover that you have for this campaign is crazy good. I mean, look at the detail just in the graffiti on the walls, and
yeah,
that must have
no,
took forever, man.
yeah, it blows me away. And
Yeah.
like I said, it was just kind of like the perfect addition to the whole story.
Yeah, so cool, man. Well, I'm gonna stop share here. I would love to kind of talk about, just doing a little bit of background research. Mark, I understand that there's more story around Breakneck too. That if the campaign goes well, which I assume it's going to, man, it'd be really cool to get some more of those stories. Am I right in that you have about five more issues that's kind of been mapped out on top of the five that you'll get in this campaign?
Yeah, so when I wrote 10 issues. The full story was 10 issues. And I mean, I have the other 5 issues are written. Again, sitting on my hard drive waiting for something to happen. But yeah, like if the campaign goes well, yeah, I would love to, try and do the next five and do, volume two. That would be the dream, that would be the most issues of anything I've ever had produced. So kind of a
That'd be cool.
personal goal as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be amazing. Incredible. And so you've been sitting on these five issues since like the early 2010s. Like you were done with all 10 at that time and been sitting on them this long?
Yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
I may have to revisit them a little bit and make sure, you know, that the stuff still sort of holds up. But yeah, like it was, and it takes what we've already done here in these 5 issues and just like turns it up to 11. Like it was just me really throwing everything I had at the time into it because yeah, I didn't know that if I was ever going to make more comics after this, right? Like there's
yeah.
never a guarantee.
Right.
So I really kind of tried to leave it all out there, right? So yeah, it's if you like the 5 issues that are here, you're gonna love the next 5 issues that hopefully one day will come.
Yeah,
You
that'd
know,
be amazing.
I'll have to find a new artist. James is not gonna be available, but there are options out there. And
Yeah.
again, if the campaign does well, like the sky's the limit.
That's so cool, man. I'm happy for you that this is being put out into the ether. It'd be really cool to see you get an opportunity to bring the rest of the story because it's like a one and done, right? It's 10 issues and that's the entire storyline. Or is there a possibility for more, or you wrote it purposely that it would end at 10?
You know what? I wrote it to have a nice conclusion at the end of the 10th issue, but again, it's comics, right? You could keep going. I could keep going with it. So yeah, I mean, I never really I don't ever really plan on writing things as a ongoing series. I like to have a beginning, middle, and end. So, but that said, if there was an opportunity to, to do five more issues and then five more issues or whatever it is, I would jump on it. I would, it would be a lot of fun. And it would actually be kind of cool, I think, to go back and write these characters now, like a decade later. So, yeah.
That would be cool. That would be cool. So what does your year look like, Mark? I mean, you obviously are writing a lot of stuff. We're kind of spending some time on BreakNeck, but you seem like you're a pretty active writer. Are you pretty active when it comes to the Comic Cons? I've seen some pictures of you at some cons. Do you try to make the rounds like at some of the big ones in the US? And obviously Toronto has an amazing Comic Con as well, and Vancouver.
Yeah. So I don't get out to a lot of US shows.
Mhm.
I did New York Comic Con, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. Like that was the last time. I do try to do as many shows in like the GTA, the Toronto area as I can. The big one, Fan Expo, that just passed, that was last month. I don't normally go to that one. It's there's a lot of people. There is a
Yeah.
lot of people there. And I used to go as just a fan. I used to take my kids and we would go and spend a day there. But yeah, I haven't done a fan expo in a few years. But I got one smaller show coming up in November. It's what I mean. Doing cons is a little tough for me. I have four kids, like four teenagers. They're busy. It's hard to find the time and to be gone, for an entire weekend. But yeah, doing cons like I always do Toronto Comic Con that falls in March. That's always a really fun show. I see a lot of friends and stuff there, and you know, there are worse things to do than be surrounded by comics for 3 days, right? So
That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, I got four kids myself, to be honest, and
okay,
but they're all adults now. They're all 18 and above, and a couple of them are already out of the house. But yeah, it's a lot of work having four kids. A
oh
lot
for
of
sure,
work having
yeah.
one kid.
No, I know, and that's why sometimes I'm like maybe I should go to that convention and get out of here for a while.
Don't
you
say
know,
it too
then,
loud, man. You'll be in trouble
no, then
after
I
the
have to,
call.
have to think about my wife. So yeah,
Exactly.
but and you know what? The other thing that I always found weird about conventions, and I expect a lot of creators feel this. Like, I create kind of in a bubble, like in a vacuum. It's just me. You know what I mean? And I'm very comfortable with just me. And then when you go to a convention and you got to start talking to people and pushing your stuff and promoting, that's a skill set in its own. You know what I mean? And I know guys that are great at it. I am not one of those guys. So if you ever see me at a convention, please come and talk to me first because that might be your best bet to to get anything out of me.
Yeah, it's definitely not for everybody, man.
Yeah.
You gotta. There's so much competition, all for the same consumer. There, you gotta
Yeah.
really kind of be a little boisterous when it comes to that, which is not for everyone for sure. If you're not born a
No.
salesperson, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, and it's a necessary evil, right? Like,
Yeah,
I it's something I feel like we have to do as creators to get
yeah,
our work out in front of people, you know what I mean? Because if you're not specifically going to a comic store or you're not, if you're not looking for those things, you're not going to stumble across this stuff, right? So, you know, if being at a convention is the only way I'm going to have people stumble across my work, then that's what I got to do.
yeah, exactly. Well, how else can people purchase? Obviously, we want to push everybody on Zoop. You should be buying Breakneck right now, but you do have this long list of amazing titles that you have worked on in the past. Do you have your own website where people could go and they can make purchases of some of the other stuff that you have done, or how do they get their hands on that?
So I'm in the process of putting
Okay.
together like a page to sell my own stuff. It's long past time I think that I do it
Yeah.
to sort of control my own destiny, right? Like to sell the stuff that I have that's mine. So that is in the works, but no. So right now, I mean, publishers' websites probably a good bet. Amazon's a good bet. Um, and I mean, if anybody reach out to me, you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. I'll sell stuff from I'll send you stuff out of
Yeah.
my collection. It's the stuff that's going to go up on the website once it's up and running. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm always willing to do that for sure.
That's awesome. That's great, man. Well, Mark, I mean that's incredible, man. Zoop right now, the campaign is only 10 days in. So there's 20 days left, plenty of time for people to jump over to Zoop
Yeah.
and pick up that copy. I know I'll be getting mine and I cannot wait to read. I love the premise of the story. And I just, I'm a big fan of like The Boys and those kind of there's another title that I just picked up. Of course, it's not in front of me, but um, it's very much like that as well. It's called something Bastards and maybe Space Bastards. I don't know if you've heard of Space Bastards.
I think so.
Yeah, it's another title that it's not the same as yours, but it has that kind of feel that I think is really awesome. So if you're out there and you love the show The Boys or the comic series The Boys or Space Bastards, I think you're going to really love Breakneck. I sense a lot of familiarity when it comes to the title, which is awesome, man. It's a little edgy. I think a lot of comedy in there, probably a
Yeah,
little bit of a lot of emotions, right?
I think so. I would like to think, yeah, the character goes through a lot in the course of 5 issues. So, yeah, he's got a lot of ups and downs. Actually, well, more downs than ups, actually. But yeah, I think he's kind of the everyman. He's everybody's entry point into this world. And he's a lot of fun to write. I had a lot of fun writing this character. And and another, if you're one of the biggest influences on me at the time when I started writing it, when you mentioned The Boys, was also The Authority,
Oh yeah, for sure.
right? The
Yeah.
Authority was a huge influence on me. Those early, I'm not going to mention the writer's name at this point, but him and Mark Millar, like the stuff they
Yeah.
did, I was
Yeah.
like, that's what I want to do. That
Yeah.
is how I want this to feel. I don't know
Yeah.
if I hit it, but those were definitely the biggest. That was the biggest influence on me.
Yeah, I mean that run by Mark Millar was pretty damn good.
Oh, it's great.
It's
Just
so
like,
great.
yeah, the one-liners and stuff in
Yeah.
there. It's I can go back and reread that stuff all the
Yeah.
time. I love that run.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you 100%, man. So if it's anything like that, you're gonna absolutely love Breakneck, which is sounds like a lot of fun. So I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I don't know how I missed it in 2010. It might have been I've been up and down buying comics, depending on money and where I was at in my life with my kids,
Yeah,
the other priorities come up, but I'm definitely gonna have to go back and get this because it's definitely down my alley. This is definitely a title that I'll be digging for sure.
yeah. No, I appreciate it. And like I said, I just hope everybody feels that same way. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be a really good looking package. It's a lot of fun. I want it on my shelf. I hope everybody wants it on their shelf.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. A nice hardbound like this, and like you said, everything that Zoop has done with a lot of writers bringing their collected works together and putting it in hardbound, like the quality is next level. It's just
Yeah. Oh
beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, just beautiful, incredible, man. So, Mark, outside of Breakneck, are you still actively writing other things too that fans could kind of follow as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always I've always got a handful of pitches, in process, ready to go. The next thing that's going to be coming is I got a graphic novella, a crime story called Nothing Makes Sense. That's going to be getting published by New Friday Comics here in Canada, actually. So probably in the new year, that's going to come out.
Nice.
And I mean, yeah, at any given time, I got a number of things going. I got some stuff under consideration at a couple of different places, a couple of different publishers. So, yeah, as stuff becomes more available, you know, I won't stop talking about it. So,
Now, as a creator, as a writer, is there a title out there that you're a big fan of that if you ever had the opportunity to write, you would be all over it? Like we talked a little bit about the authority. Like, is there a title out there like, man, if I could ever have an opportunity, I already have stories. I just love that title so much.
so there's actually two. I can tell you
Ah,
right now. There's two that I really would love to get my hands on, and they're two fairly under the radar things. So, um, in Iron Fist, they established the immortal weapons, right? The other
yeah.
group of fighters, and one of them was the Prince of Orphans,
Uh,
who was a character that I love that character. I love the idea of that character. And I actually even wrote and had like a little 5-page pitch drawn with that character.
oh, how
Uh,
cool.
I was hoping to use as like a calling card essentially for Marvel. It hasn't really worked out that way, but
Yeah.
that's definitely I have a great story in mind for that character. And going back to the Authority again, now that those characters, those Wildstorm characters, are like part of the DC universe, I always thought it'd be really cool if the Midnighter from the Authority joined the Bat family and became like Batman's like Batman doesn't have any superhuman
Yeah.
operatives, right?
Right.
So add Midnighter in there. I mean, he's an analog of Batman. That's that was his whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Throw him into the mix into the Bat family, and you have Batman's superhuman agent. It'd be Midnighter, Agent of the Bat, or something like that. Like I got a pretty cool pitch written for that as well. So
Such a cool character, and I don't know why DC hasn't done a whole lot with the Midnighter. I was pretty excited when Todd McFarlane came out with the action figure, which I picked up. I was like,
okay.
dude, this is awesome, man. So
Yeah.
it's right over here. But man, I was so stoked because he is pretty badass. He's hilarious. And
Yeah.
like you said, right, if Batman would use a little more force and he had some powers, he'd be the Midnighter, right?
Yeah, and he's already got like he was in that Grayson series, right? So there's
Yeah.
already like he's already mixed it up with Dick Grayson, so I feel like it's a pretty easy in to the Bat
Yeah.
family.
Exactly. Yeah. Those are two pretty good ones, man. I definitely hope you get an opportunity to do something with the Midnighter. I don't think DC utilizes that character enough, and he's so fun. So fun,
Yes,
man.
yeah. That's cool.
Those are two good ones, man. The other one's
Thank you.
definitely a very niche, man. That might be a tough
I know,
one.
I know, and that's kind of why I figured I could probably get away with doing something with it,
Yeah.
right? Because who cares about the Prince of Orphans? I mean, I do, and I hope some
Mark does.
outreaders would. Yeah, yeah. He's a cool character, so it'd be fun to
Yeah.
do.
Well, it seems like they're really trying to do more with Iron Fist, right? I think I don't know if it was a one shot or a short series that just came out. I know I picked up the first issue about a month and a half ago of Iron Fist, if I'm not mistaken. So it seems like Marvel wants to do a little bit more of it. I know the Netflix series, there's talks that Disney Plus, if Daredevil does well, they might start to bring over the other three that they did, which
Yeah,
could be a lot of fun. So maybe, Mark, maybe. You
yeah.
never know.
That's the set. Like it's comics, right? Like you
Yeah.
never know. You never know what might spark. What might spark an editor's interest or what might spark some readers' interest. So yeah, hey,
Exactly.
anybody at Marvel or DC, I got one for each of you. Let me know.
Exactly. Yeah. I think both are pretty good, Mark. Both are
Yeah,
pretty good, man.
nice.
Well, that's awesome, Mark, man. It's been such a pleasure to get to know you, man. I hope that we could have you back on and talk
Yeah,
about
of
some of the
course.
other stuff that you're working on once this is successful. In the meantime, right below, I'm going to put all the links to your socials, obviously to Zoop, to get as many people to go over there. We'll blast it all over social media. Anybody watching this, check out BreakNeck. You are getting a first glimpse of chapter 5 or issue 5 for the first time in this particular collected works hardcover deluxe edition. $40, and you're getting almost 130 pages worth of storytelling, which is a pretty, I think, darn good deal. And I'm definitely going to order mine because it sounds awesome, sounds hilarious, and it's right up my alley, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, Tommy. You're awesome. I really appreciate your time, and yeah, let's go breakneck.
Yeah, let's go breakneck, man. Well, I wish you the very best, Mark. Thank you for hanging out with me on a weekend. I know it's probably not the best time to do these type of things, but I appreciate your flexibility. I've been traveling for work and stuff, so it's been a little hard.
No, it was great. I really, like I said, really appreciate having me on, and yeah, I would love to come back. Maybe when the campaign's done and the book is out in the world, we can talk about how much everybody loved reading it finally. So
Absolutely, man. We'll go through it together, man. That'd be a lot of fun.
yeah, awesome.
All right. All right, Mark. I'll have all the links below. Everyone that's watching, head over to Zoop. It's live right now. We only got 20 more days, so there's plenty of time. But make sure you get in there and pick up this title. I think you're going to really love it. I got mine, so make sure you get yours. Until next time, Mark, I appreciate you. Have an amazing weekend, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Tommy.
All right.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.